In fact, I told my mother, if I die now, God will say you have gone to enough church. But when I became a parent, I realized the importance of maintaining our marriage spiritually. I am not talking about a religious exercise. I'm talking about you and your spouse spending time, even if it is 5 minutes in prayer. We live in a world now where we're very busy. Two cell phones, laptop. People want your attention because you are pastors. And we do not have time for what is important. I'm going to repeat something you heard yesterday, because it is very, very important. The most important thing in your life as a pastor is your relationship with God. Your relationship with God has nothing to do with your job as a pastor. Absolutely nothing. Your relationship with God is when you and God are alone. If you study the life of Jesus, it will often take some time away to go and be with the Father. And when he comes back from spending time with his Father, and when he's doing miracles, sometimes he doesn't even pray, because he is connected to the source of power. See, many of us, when we started in ministry, we used to pray 3-4 hours. God, bring people to church. God, bring people to church. Then we have 200 people. Then that prayer reduced to 30 minutes. Your relationship starts to go down. You have now become a big man in your own eyes. A big man. Never, ever lose that relationship with God. I'm going to repeat. Never, ever lose your personal time with God. That is your source of power. The second priority is your wife. You know, when everything else falls, when everything else goes away, you're going to be left with her. Or for the women, you're going to be left with him. After your wife or your husband, then your children. I'm skipping over that because in the evening there's a segment we're going to talk about how to relate to each other as pastors and wives. So I will get back to that later. And after the children comes the ministry. See, when we die, what people are going to remember about us is our family. In 10 years or 20 years, they might say, oh yes, he was a pastor of this church. But what they will put on the epitaph is he is survived by his wife and children. Spiritual maintenance. Remember we said earlier that the devil does not like marriage. And the devil attacks marriage in fact, your marriage as pastor is like a bull's eye. I am in marriage ministry. I travel a lot. I'm on the radio. On the radio. So that could bring pressure on my wife. So that she lives up to this, whatever people think. But one thing we keep telling each other is this. We remind each other every day. Do not live up to somebody else's expectation. If I'm speaking about marriage and you are mad at me, tell me. It's okay for people to see that you and I still have problems. What is important is that we resolve our problem. To maintain your marriage spiritually, one part of you, one part of your being is very important. The enemy cannot touch you if you are a believer. I'm going to repeat that because I know I'm speaking to an African audience. The devil cannot touch you if you are a believer. Now, let me give you a Bible basis for that statement. King Balak of Moab saw the Israelites and he was afraid of them. He heard that their God had done great things for them. So he didn't want to go and fight them. So he called a prophet called Balaam. And he said, I want you to put a curse on these people. 3 times Balaam tried to curse the Israelites. 3 times he blessed them. So he went back to the king. He said, anyone that God has blessed, no one can curse. Anyone that God has blessed, no one can curse. But then he said to the king, I'll tell you how to get them.
Mam nan to ha fo fo na tu so